the benefits of the price stabilizer, all the different sister projects that we've gotten into, with Prism and Davi, and I mean, and all the new partnerships that we've had with like BloomFi and whatnot. So, we did all that and rolled that out first before we really put it into a medium or a page for someone to read about. So that way people can start right away, earning income. So,
Sure, you've definitely got the right idea there. I guess we're still in the process of living and learning the way I guess people respond and react to these type of projects, if you like. I think the idea of having the ecosystem ready and your partnerships and whatnot to ensure the foundation is solid really does make it a whole lot easier when you do reach out to the public and community to get participation on board. It certainly does help, especially with, our short attention spans with so much going on in the space. People only have so much time to think and react, I think, which makes it, I guess, a lot better when you do come out with your utilities and all the things that you don't need to promise but rather just provide from the outset. Certainly we've learned along the way as well. I think it's better to keep your mouth or to keep your cards close to your chest as possible, especially with so many prying eyes. But I think you guys have gotten down the formula pretty good, so well done.
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I keep investing in them and have and other protocols as well. And I enjoy being a part of the team. A lot of people in here, and the Discord as well. That are in this group have been nothing but supportive and help people out and talk to one another. It's not a brutal place to be, but like I said, if you look at what we're doing and our affiliations and the type of people that you speak to when you go into the room, there's nothing that should make anyone feel nervous or upset about anything, because the reality is that it is crypto in a DeFi space, and that is just the same thing as going into a slot machine and putting a quarter in, hoping something comes out. Now, we reassure you something comes out in some way, shape, or form, or that does not. So there's always a gamble, a risk, or then that's why I always say, and people always say, do your own research, but that doesn't mean you could do all the research in the world that's going to do anything. So proven projects that sustain themselves, that are still moving on till today, that either partner, collaborate, and have affiliation with one another, expand the amount of people, which means that the amount of trust amongst other groups and other people that get to chat, makes them feel more confident in their decision, because it ultimately is a good one, in my opinion, based on the research that I've done. But if you want to, deep dive into anything like that, sometimes, you can always try to find something that could be bad, and not necessarily is bad. It's just like, oh my God, it throws up a flag. But, a lot of other companies that were doing similar projects and similar things were beyond transparent and had the coolest, dApps that you can imagine, and promised promised everyone the world and showed pictures of their faces, and told everyone everything what they're going to do, like I said, and I drop, and then all of a sudden just decided, to do what they wanted to do for themselves. So, for me, that really, for me, I mean, you could do that. That's great. But, like I said, the proof is in, the project and the people that you're dealing with and talking to, because that's what's going to put you at ease, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I guess a classic example of that is Liquid Capital in some form. Are you guys affiliated with them by any chance? Before I proceed.
No, that's fine. Flame away.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to instill too much negativity, but I mean, with that said, I did actually warn a lot of those players that are currently involved with Liquid Capital from the outset, because we had the privilege of speaking with Golden from Titan months ago. This is before their launch. And something that Dow King actually told me was quite disturbing at the time. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Titan, but they built a DEX called Orbital Swap. And DK at the time, who we were speaking to about, getting some YouTube videos out and whatnot, had mentioned that Orbital were planning on launching a project every 2 weeks to basically grab as much cash as possible. That's what DK told me, and they had somehow partnered up, before the launch, and was telling us to launch our LP there, and we were exploring ways we could do that. And then when the conversation started deteriorating in that fashion, we made the decision to sort of stay away. And then we're so lucky that we did, because I'm sure you've heard that one of their devs ended up rugging, but there's actually a deeper story to that, which I won't go into here. But I warned David from Titano. I even warned the Horde team about what LC were potentially up to, but it all fell on deaf ears. But hopefully they learned from the experience of the past couple of days that it probably was a bad idea, and this circle of trust thing is probably one of the biggest gimmicks of Web3 that we're seeing right now. So it's a little bit discouraging to see that so much liquidity was sucked out of the system to really just another rebase protocol, where what you mentioned before, they've just decided to do whatever they want. So today they decided to turn off the LMS, which was one of their major selling features of the project. And I think they took that opportunity to do a little bank run on their treasury today. So yeah, it's not really good for the space, because not only does it suck liquidity out, but it does also lose investor confidence as well, which is a big thing, especially around these type of high risk protocols that we're building. I mean, we can only do our best by ensuring that the tokenomics are sound, and ensuring that there's enough utility and revenue streams to support the APY and the investors. But when devs are able to just go in and turn things off and turn things on, and increase rates and decrease rates as they like, none of that really is decentralized, and so it defeats the whole purpose of DeFi. I was joking with the team today how DeFi should be renamed to just degenerated finance, because there's not much about it that's really decentralized, which is one of the main things that we've actually tried to address with GuilderFi. Is by having enough decentralization in there, we can actually ensure that people's expectations are actually managed well with no surprises. Because imagine you just wake up one morning and all the promises that the project had made were basically rolled back. I mean, that's somewhat of a nightmare, because if your local bank did that, you're getting some rate of interest back for your deposit, and all of a sudden they just decided to turn it off. How would you feel? And I think one of the main problems is that many of the people still participating and aping into these type of projects have very little idea of what's actually happening under the hood. And so I know a lot of projects talk about the education part in DeFi, how we need to, be educated, but what is that education? And it's something I think I haven't really seen anyone out there do quite well. But I mean, I'm not saying that it's something that, we want to start doing, but I think just overall, there needs to be a lot more sort of education in the raw form of the word DeFi, what it actually means, what it should stand for, and how it should operate. Because even when people are told that, taxes are being increased and decreased and, certain mechanisms are being turned off and on, no one seems to have any qualms about that. And that really just explains that they have very little idea on what DeFi should be all about, right? So, I think time will be able to solve these problems because the market has definitely gone a bit wiser, even from 1 year ago. People are a lot more careful into what they're investing in and they're more skeptical, which is actually really good because that means that less people will get burned at the end of the day. Because let's face it, um, I'm thinking like 8 or 9 out of DeFi projects out there are either in it with bad intentions or merely forked so they don't actually understand the mechanics of how their protocols actually work, which is a bit of a concern, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a shame so much of that exists in this space, but I mean, all we can do, as teams on these sorts of projects, is to build good projects that are sustainable and they give the investors what they want, and eventually people will just find their way to our projects. You can only get sort of burned so many times, and it's unfortunately, a lot of people in this space have learned the hard way. I'm sure everyone in the audience has experienced a project where they've been rugged at some point. It is sad that that happens, but we're so early in this space right now that it's it's a learning curve for all of us. So, I mean, tell us a bit more about your project, about GuilderFi. Can you sort of give us a rundown on what you guys are doing?
So GuilderFi was built merely out of frustration. So a group of guys from Sydney, Australia, where the core team is based, we basically were participants in rebase protocols, many of the quite notable ones out there. And we were really just sick and tired with all the failed promises, right? And I spoke about this before, but one of the major failures was the lack of decentralization. And so when we saw a way that we could actually automate many of these mechanisms that these projects had promised and failed to deliver on, we saw an opportunity there to basically do what we thought was right. And GuilderFi is actually quite a complicated protocol under the hood. So there's 7 different mechanisms, if you like, that are constantly working. And half of them are basically the type of promises like token buybacks and burns, which usually rely on a dev to go in and make the token purchases using the funds in the treasury. But we saw a way that we could totally just automate that process so there'll be no conflicts, user expectations will be managed, and the protocol will work as promised. So we have sort of come up with this term of rebase 2.0. Whilst rebase, that word itself, is probably has a bit of bad stigma attached to it, if you like, because of all the people that have been burnt out there. We do feel that there is still a big market demand from participants in these type of protocols, and the ones that do play it safe will make money at the end of the day, right? And so not just about sustainability, because everybody is talking about sustainability now, because by now everyone knows that these type of protocols with just the buy and sell tax alone will not be able to sustain itself even in the short term, because many of the price charts that you see around rebase protocols all follow pretty much the same pattern, right? It's an initial spike followed by a drop in price almost to a point of no return. And most of them never do return from that point on. So by having a protocol that has multiple revenue streams to support the APY, and also by adding the decentralization to the mechanisms, we really feel that this is probably the best shot that rebase protocols have had to date. I personally do feel like the tokenomics that we have come up with over such a long period of time for about 6 months now. We've been working on this project. We believe the tokenomics is superior to what is out there because the price stabilizing mechanism is probably something that has been recently seen since Horde have come up with their LMS. And just for the record, I want to state that we were actually working on GuilderFi long before Horde was actually launched. And it was quite a pleasant surprise actually for us to realize that there was a similar type of price stabilizing mechanism out there. Because look, we're not here for the competition. We're not here to compete with anyone. We're actually here to simply make DeFi a more bearable place to invest your money in. And that's not just for investors, but it's actually for ourselves as well. So the team have actually got no vested interest in the actual tokens, the token supply. We haven't actually allocated any team member tokens or any of the founders for that matter. We've all had to participate. So I've already participated and bought my 10 BNB. So I'm already in with my own money, and there's no free lunch for any of us. So in that sense, that we have truly built this as a community-driven project because most of the team don't even get paid, right? And so we're really all in this to participate in it ourselves. We're enthusiasts in DeFi and we want to make money as well along the way, but we want to make this in an equitable way where everybody starts off on an even footing. So there's no perks, there's no advantages for any of the team. We're exactly the same as everyone else. And I think by, showing people that we are really here not for our own self gain, but actually in the name of DeFi, then people should somehow warm to that, we believe. And we've been seeing that as well. Um, One of the main things that we were able to consider implementing was the safety feature. And I don't think any investment product out there till date has had such a safety feature because no investment is guaranteed, right? Nothing in life is really guaranteed. But through the use of smart contracts, we found a way that we could actually say, hey, if you invest a certain amount of BNB with us, we can actually, through the use of the smart contract, guarantee what you put in will be secured, tucked, and stored away in a separate fund that will be responsible for protecting investors. So that's somewhat of an industry first, I think. And by introducing the use of NFTs to pair with our token, I think that also presents as a unique opportunity because till now you've really only had tokens or NFTs sort of working separately, but we're seeing more use cases now where DeFi projects particularly are actually able to use the NFTs and the advantages that they present to actually support what they're doing in terms of their token sustainability and price. So we chose to implement the use of NFTs not to boost returns, but rather to actually provide safety. And we thought, what better way or what better place to provide this kind of safety net than a really high risk protocol? Because let's face it, these rebase protocols are high risk. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they're totally lying through their teeth. This is all experimental, and most of the stuff that happens in DeFi is experimental. And we believe we have got a pretty compelling experiment to let people come and try. Um, at the end of the day, we can't extend this safety net feature to everyone. Otherwise, the protocol would just not have enough money to support it. But then, at least for those who are courageous enough to come on board from day one, we'll actually have that safety net feature. And even for those joining later on, they will also have an opportunity, although a limited opportunity, to participate in this safety mechanism, because there are only so many NFTs that will be available for people to buy. And for the earliest investors, they'll actually be given this NFT at kind of like a bonus. So they'll be airdropped their NFT along with their tokens after the pre-sale ends, and they'll be able to uh, uh, realize which NFT they've received, because there's 5 different levels of cover that we offer. And despite the 5 different levels of cover, so we protect users all the way from 1 up to 100 BNB. So 1, 5, 10, 25, and 100 BNB people can get investor protection for. But anyone that participates in the pre-sale will actually be protected for the amount they invest in. So regardless of the NFT that they receive, they will be protected for exactly the amount they invest in, up to 10 BNB, because that's the maximum anyone can buy. So that alone, I think, presents a unique offer to investors that hasn't really been tried or done before. And like I said, it is an experiment. And through our careful planning and tokenomics and our future roadmap, we do believe that it gives investors the best chance yet that we've seen to date in allowing to earn passive income, have some protection along the way, but most importantly, learn and have a bit of fun as well. So, we've got like a P2E game as well, where people can come and it's like a rock, scissors, paper game, quite simple, where we've replaced the theme with war themed weapons. Where they can come and earn tokens as well. So it's a little bit of fun. You can duel other people, or you can play on your own. So we've allocated some tokens that people can actually basically win by not having to invest anything. So that gives people an opportunity to participate even if they're unable to do so. We've got ways that people can even earn tokens along the way. We've got lots of competitions, giveaways. So the focus is really around the community here. And I know that many projects say that, they're community-driven project and whatnot, but then when you actually take a deep dive, you've got to really try and assess what are the actual things that are being done for the community. What are the type of, streams where people can participate in. I think a lot are still lacking in that department, although of course their heart might be to serve the community, right? And I'm sure most are, but then what is it that's actually, being offered to the community and its users? So we have tried to think of all different aspects around community and how they can be supported, how they can get involved, and basically how they can learn and make some money along the way. Because I don't think anyone here is not here to make any money. We're all here, even I am here to make money, although we don't want to. We don't want any free lunches here, right? We want this so everyone participates in an equitable manner and everyone has the potential to earn something that's on the same sort of footing as everyone else. So there's no discrimination here. Whether being a whale or a small fish does not discriminate here. Everyone gets the same APY. Everyone gets the same deal, and the distribution of NFTs as well are totally randomized as well to add that element of the gamified element and the game theory element as well. So not so much an elevator pitch because there is so much going on with the protocol. As simple as it looks, there are 7 different mechanisms that work under the hood, and I will go on to explain a few of them if anyone has any questions to now.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have got some really cool features. I mean, for those in the audience that aren't currently invested in your project, can you just sort of walk us through the steps on how to get involved? I know you guys have got the N1 token, which is what everything revolves around, right? So, I mean, what sort of quantities do people need to buy? What do they need to do with it, etc.?
So the pre-sale is currently ongoing and is available through our DApp, so app.guilderfi.io. And under our DApp, we've actually got all the different revenue streams and the offerings that we have through GuilderFi. And the fair launch is one of the top menu buttons. If you go in there, you can just have your BNB ready. We're launching on the BSC mainnet, so you will need BNB to participate. And whilst the minimum is 0.25 BNB to participate, which is about $75 or so at the current price of BNB, anyone purchasing a minimum of 0.5 BNB will be entitled to the free NFT airdrop. Now, these NFTs on the secondary market, just as a price guide, you're looking at, for the very top tier, which protects users up to 100 BNB, we'll be listing these, if any are remaining after the pre-sale, at around 9 BNB. So this NFT that's worth 9 BNB basically gives you a guarantee for 106.25% of your invested capital. So safe exit is not just a money back mechanism, but it also rewards those people who have actually had the courage to come invest and hold. Safe exit can be used after 90 days from TGE, and that was purposely done for a few reasons. Number one is it actually allows people to sit back and enjoy the APY, right? As opposed to having to worry about what the price is and checking the chart every hour. People can actually chill, kick back, and actually receive the 1.94% in daily rewards, knowing that they have this safety net holding them. So the NFTs themselves will actually have significant value on the secondary market, and that is basically almost a bonus in itself, in addition to the rewards token, the N1 token that people will receive. So a minimum of 0.5 BNB is required in order to be eligible for that, and the maximum is 10 BNB anyone can buy, as we want to prevent any whale influences. So yeah, that's pretty much how people can get involved. Once the pre-sale is over, and we're expecting to wrap things up in August this month, the pre-reveal will be made, and people will be able to realize, know what NFT they have received. But as mentioned before, regardless of how much people invest for, they will receive the amount of protection they've invested in, and get a return of 106.25% on their worst day if they wanted to exit the protocol.
Very cool. So you say it's going to sort of wrap up sort of in the next couple of weeks, I guess, in August. Is there an actual timeline on it, or do you want to sell a certain amount of tokens before it ends, before the public sale? What's the determining factor with when the pre-sale ends?
Rather than a timeline, because the most important aspect is having enough liquidity, especially with rebase type protocols. Having sufficient liquidity from day one ensures that your short-term sustainability will be possible, rather than having to dilute everyone's tokens or holdings through the rebases that are made every 12 minutes. So in that regard, sorry, one sec.
No problem.
Sorry, I've just had my cat all over me. So, the time is really not a factor here, but it's more so the liquidity. And we are aiming to launch with around give or take 3 to 500 BNB just to ensure that there's sufficient liquidity from day one.
Sure, yeah. I mean, very sensible with that sort of rebase type token. That's definitely the main thing you need. Should we get some questions from the community now? I know some of you guys have posted in the GuilderFi channel. For those of you who've just joined, GuilderFi have been kind enough to put up 20 of their N1 tokens for someone who asked the best questions. So if you've got any questions, head over to the GuilderFi channel now and just post them in there, and I will pass them on, and you might be lucky. So should we go to some questions now? Is there anything else you wanted to sort of cover or say that we haven't covered so far?
The main thing, I guess, that we haven't covered is the liquidity relief fund that we have.
Okay.
It's one of the most important mechanisms of GuilderFi. So I'll just refer it to LRF here for the sake of simplicity.
Yeah, sure.
So the LRF basically is very quite similar to Horde's price stabilizing mechanism. And it was a pleasant surprise for us to actually find out about this type of similar mechanism out there through one of James Pelton's AMAs that we did with him recently. And that's really just responsible for the token buybacks and also token sells, because our aim is to keep the backed liquidity at 100%, ensuring that all the tokens out there in circulation are fully backed by crypto reserves. So basically, when the token launches out of the pre-sale, the back liquidity, according to our calculation, will be at around 46%. Now, our goal is to get that up to 100%. So from the launch price of $5, one N1 token will be worth $5 on launch. It will go through its own price discovery phase until it reaches that 100% back liquidity mark. Once it reaches there, the LRF mechanism will kick in. So it's being coded to kick in automatically. There's no relying on a dev here to do something. Once it reaches 100%, and let's say that it tries to get to 101%, what this mechanism is going to do is sell 1% of the N1 tokens to bring that back liquidity down to 100%. Now, for this similar part, if someone sells their N1 tokens and the back liquidity drops to, say, 97%, the LRF will then kick in to bring that, buy N1 tokens using the treasury funds to bring that back liquidity back to 100%. So that's going to be constantly working in the background, quite similar to the way Horde have kept their price stable. However, the main thing and the main differentiator is the fact that we don't get to choose at what price level the ceiling is being maintained or the floor is being maintained. The LRF would just do that automatically. So we can't sort of say, all right, this month we're going to run a promotion. We want to keep the price stable at $115, for example, because that doesn't really present itself as being decentralized. That is quite centralized. And one of the main things the reasons why we came to found this project was to basically have more decentralization in these DeFi protocols. And so this will work autonomously. There'll be no flick of a button that we can actually turn off and on. It will just keep working. However, it does have a circuit breaker in place. If ever it failed, and we don't know, there is a likelihood that it can fail for some reason. Let's just say a whale bought so much or a whale bought so little, then, sold too much or bought too much, then if the LRF ever sort of goes past these certain parameters of 85 and 115% of back liquidity, it will actually turn off automatically. So it won't rely on anyone to come in and flick a switch. It will actually just turn off. And then that will allow the team to reassess what went wrong, how we can actually address the issue moving forward, and also allow the community to decide what we should do. Because our ultimate goal is, once we have built out the remaining parts of the protocol according to our roadmap, we're going to transition the protocol to a DAO. And so by handing the keys over to the community, the team get to step back once all the work is done and we know that it's been done satisfactorily. We get to step back, and then the community get to decide how the protocols run from that point. So our ultimate goal is to transition to a DAO, and we hope that this will happen sometime at the end of this year, is when we expect to have the remaining parts of the protocol built. So that's also a unique aspect of our protocol, especially for a rebase type, because I know that a lot of the bad actors out there in these type of projects are actually in it for their own self-gain, and by transitioning this over to a DAO, then we can sort of eliminate any of those assumptions people may have, because obviously us not taking any team tokens as part of the launch should speak for itself as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's actually a really unique approach as well, isn't it? It's one of the really sort of exciting things about this space, is the sort of innovation that takes place where, I mean, someone comes up with an idea like a rebase protocol, for example, that has inherent problems, and you can just sort of introduce these new features and a unique way of sort of working and looking at things to sort of fix these problems. And I think, eventually we're going to get to a point where, we get to a stage where everything just sort of works in harmony with itself, and someone's going to come up with like a really good solution for all of the problems that exist in DeFi, and it's just sort of one step at a time, isn't it? But I think you guys have definitely taken a step in the right direction. You've got some really good ideas, some unique ideas that haven't been done before. So yeah, I mean, good luck to you. I really love your DApp, by the way. It's really clean and really well laid out. So that's really cool as well. It's always nice to see when you're investing in a new protocol if they've got a really nice DApp as well. I hate it when you find something new and you log onto their app and it's really clunky and fugly. Yeah. So yeah, that's really good. I like that too. Okay, are you ready to take some questions then? Was there anything else you wanted to cover before we dive in?
Yeah, look, regarding the app interface, that's all kudos to our dev team and lead dev. So Adrian is actually a senior software engineer at AWS.
Wow.
If any of you know the actual stringent requirements to get accepted at AWS, they only hire the best of the best. So I'm talking like the 1% of the 1%, right? And so I guess the experience that is had in working for Fortune 50 companies has sort of allowed us to benefit from his experience there. So I have full confidence and trust in our dev team. We're actually all quite old, if you like, for this space. We'll feel quite old anyway. You don't have any risks of any temptations of rug pulls or anything like that. We all have professional lives outside of Web3 as well. So we have too much to lose, put it that way. And we're certainly not going to jeopardize our professional careers and livelihoods by looking at a quick rug pull. It just doesn't align with where we come from.
It's all right. I'm old too. Don't worry about it. I see you guys have already got a fiat on-ramp as well, which is pretty cool. That's a nice feature to have, especially from launch. That's really cool.
Yeah, so our objective was to actually onboard a lot of the non-crypto and DeFi users, and given that many of them probably won't have access or enough time to go and get KYC'd and whatnot because it's such a nightmare these days to do so, we've just provided a convenient way for them to obtain some crypto, although they do pay a little bit more with these fiat on-ramps. So going through a SEX is usually the cheapest option, but for those that need an alternative, yeah, the on ramp is there for people to use.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, let's go over to some questions then.
Sure.
Let's have a look. So we've got a fair few posted here. So, first question: revenue is a very important aspect for all projects to survive and maintain the project. What is the way to generate profit slash revenue of the token? What is the income model? I mean, I feel like you've already covered that pretty much with regards to the sort of rebasing aspects, etc. Right? Or was there anything else you wanted to
Yeah,
add to that?
you've got the buy sell taxes. You've also got the revenue being generated through the NFT sales. That's quite a unique tokenomics where 1% of the royalties will go to the first owner of the royalty in perpetuity. 2% will go to existing NFT holders, so everyone will get a bit of something when someone sells or trades their NFT, and 3% will go to the protocol to support the APY, and then the DEX will also actually generate revenue from the token swaps and also from the fees being collected, they will actually be straight out burnt. So as opposed to having a token, let's say like on PancakeSwap, for example, when people trade your token, they collect their fees in your native token. And when they build up enough of your token, they'll just actually sell it on the open market. And that causes extreme sell pressure.
Yeah.
And by preventing that, we get full control over how the fees are handled. And I think that's definitely one of the best ways to prevent that sell pressure. And a lot of the DeFi projects are actually figuring that out late, where you're seeing protocols scrambling to add a DEX now. But sometimes when you go beyond that point of no return, it is a little bit too late, unfortunately, as we've seen with the case of like Titanic, for example, with their switch decks.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard sometimes to implement something retroactively. Really do need to get some things in from the start. So that's definitely a good thing. Um,
Yeah.
most investors focus only on the short term price of the token instead of the actual value of the project. So, what are the benefits for long term investors in GuilderFi?
So our aim is not to go for the price appreciation part. Only the point from launch until the 100% back liquidity mark gets reached. We're not aiming to push the token price up. I mean, it can't even get pushed up because of the LRF mechanism there. And so by having a stable token price, we can just enjoy the lucrative APY, but then all good things don't last forever. And, that's a common thing that most people over a certain age will actually know that good things all come to an end. And so even without APY, it's not going to remain at that level forever. So every year it's going to get reduced by 50%. And from year 6 to year 10, it's going to drop all the way to 350% APY. And GuilderFi is a 10-year fixed protocol. Once the last rebase is done, that's when the token supply will max out. And at that point, if we do get there, the N1 token will become a truly deflationary token. Excuse me. It will become a truly deflationary token from that point on. And we're expecting the utility and the use cases and the ability to use the token to actually pay for things and make purchases will become a reality by then. So that's the ultimate goal. But the short term goal is to get past year one.
Yeah.
And the even shorter term goal than that is to get past week 12, because that's usually around the point in time when these high APY protocols start to fail. And so we hope by having the LRF mechanism in place and using those treasury funds effectively, rather than just storing them up in the treasury God knows for what, we're going to use those funds actively to keep the price stable. And it's funny because when LC turned their LMS off this morning, they basically said they turned it off because it was using too much of their funds. But those funds are actually in there to support the price stabilizer. So it really totally beats me why that was turned off in the beginning. But by having that decentralized, like I said, we get to avoid all those issues that can likely happen.
Yeah, cool. So, do you have plans to burn N1? I'm sure you've mentioned this already. Plans to burn N1 tokens in the future to reduce the supply and increase their investment attractiveness. And probably a bit late for this, but could you introduce yourself to the community and tell us about your background?
Yeah, so my name is Chris, by the way, and I come from a Web2 background. I've been operating various businesses and founded and started up companies the last 10 years, all with a Web2 front. And I'm currently the portfolio manager for a boutique hedge fund looking after their crypto portfolio. So that's my in real life job, in addition to the businesses that I'm involved in. But yeah, we're from Sydney, Australia. That's where the core team's from. Obviously, with other team members from all over the world, across Europe and even Africa. But yeah, we're here to build this project out of really just sheer frustration from all the failed promises, and we've looked to rectify those by adding lots of decentralization to the protocol.
Yeah, I feel like that's a common story with people working on a lot of the good projects that exist in DeFi right now. Is just the sheer frustration at all of the bad projects, and people you just think, well, we can do a better job than this. And yeah, it'll all work out for the best. I think for the teams with the good intentions and the good tokenomics. I think ultimately they're going to be the ones left standing when everyone else has fallen by the wayside, and the investors will find their way there eventually.
Yeah,
Okay.
I really feel like what's going to happen is when our LRF actually kicks in and people can actually see that happening on a price chart, that's, I think, when the real FOMO is going to kick in. And by then, it could be a little bit too late. Well, it won't be too late, but you won't be able to get the full benefits of what we're offering to the earliest investors.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, what's the best way to follow all GuilderFi upcoming news and updates? Can you share with us your social media links and what are your plans in the coming future? So, if you check out the AMA news channel, I posted the link in there to the GuilderFi Discord. And it'll have all the official links on there for their website, their Twitter, etc. What's the best place for your news and updates? Is it Twitter, presumably, or is Discord better for news and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we have an announcements channel on Discord that people can keep up to date with what's happening. But we do post most updates through Twitter and even Reddit and Medium. But Discord is certainly the place where there's the most engagement and there's mods around there 24/7. We do also have a Telegram group as well, which is not so big, but we've really just had it there for, formality, really,
Yeah,
because in the beginning, I didn't really want to have a Telegram because of all the sort of nonsense that
yeah.
happens on there, and
I'm
all
not a
the
fan. I've got to be
DMs that
honest.
come through.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we've established one anyway, just for the formality. So anyone that's only on Telegram, they can come in there, and most of the updates on Discord and everywhere else are updated throughout the socials. So I've actually tried to provide a link tree link, but I think the bot has not allowed me to do so.
oh,
But
if you
if
want
you go
to
to
if you want to
our,
DM me, I can drop the link in for your link tree. That's no problem at all.
sure, I'll do that right now, because that has the links obviously to all our different social platforms that people can stay in touch with.
Yeah, no problem. I'll do that now. So, what's your marketing strategy to increase the validity of your project brand? Are you planning a strategic partnership to level up your project?
Well, we're always looking for good marketing partnerships, but they're not happening as fast because there aren't that many good marketers or influencers out there. We have used so many of them out there, but most of them don't really yield many results. A lot of bot driven. So we've actually got a team now that looks after and scrutinizes all these marketers that come along because, as you guys probably know as well, you get hit up every day from all sorts of different people, and we're probably filtering through them, and you'll find maybe one or two out of 100 that are actually worth pursuing. So currently we have a collaboration agreement with the Blockchain Babes, which is really great because seeing more women in DeFi is just really encouraging because it's really been a sausage fest till now, if you like. It's just been,
Yeah, sure.
all guys, and it's really encouraging to see more women get involved in DeFi because when you look at the stats, I think it's something like 80-20 or maybe even like 85-15 the number of women to men there are in DeFi. So I think as the market matures, we're going to see a lot more women, but it's really encouraging to see a group of women that have come together and they're out there looking for, projects that they believe in and that they're happy to participate in as well. But other than that, we're always speaking to different influencers and people out there that can help us market the project that have similar sort of aligned objectives as us. So we're really just taking that one by one. But most importantly, we're trying to nurture the community and offer the community as much as we can because we want to branch out from within rather than going to too many external sources and having the message too muddied. I think concentrating on our existing community is probably the best because good feedback loops will allow them to sort of tell their friends and family about it. And that's the best form of marketing by far
What?
is word of mouth.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you on that one. Yeah, very cool. So we're getting a lot of questions coming. I don't think we're going to have time to answer all of them. So I'm going to just sort of pick some. I don't know if you're able to sort of stick around after the AMA and just respond
I
in
will
the
actually.
channel. Yeah, is
Yeah,
that cool?
I was planning to do that anyway, so I'm going to work from the top of the list of the questions, and anything that I feel like I haven't answered, I will just provide answers there. And if you have any more questions, if you're happy to keep this chat room open, happy to have the team in here as well, just to help out and attend to any questions that people have.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the chat room will stay open. Yeah, we don't close these off. So yeah, wait for the other guys to wake up and they can help you out because there's there's quite a fair few questions in here to answer. But I'll go through a few
No
more. We just
problem.
like to sort of try and keep the AMAs to around an hour or so. That's also. I'm just very aware we're getting on a bit for time. But so, what's the purpose of the DAO that the project will transition into, and will the DAO reinvest into other projects or have any actual utility?
Look, that's really totally up to the DAO. Although before we hand it over, we want to set somewhat of a framework, a working framework that people can see that, it's sound, it's actually doing something, generating returns for the community and its users and token holders. So the N1 token, it's our native utility and governance token. So token holders, according to how much they hold, will have a direct say in how it's being operated into the future. But how that operates into the future and what they invest in, it's we have really little say in that. We can only set the foundation to ensure that it's heading in the right direction. And ultimately, the community will decide. So I couldn't really answer that question accurately at this stage.
Yeah, no problem. That's fine. Right, what have we got? So, will GuilderFi also work as a game or project launchpad in the future? Should we consider GuilderFi as a marketing, security, social media advisory product or a module for games, projects, launchpad, and Web3 products in the next years?
Well, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah, isn't it just?
I
Yeah.
think I think the first half of what you said there, definitely there's huge potential for us to do that. We've already started adding a bit of, gamified things for people to do, if you like. We've got the jewels that's currently running through the DApp where people can earn N1 tokens. But I've spoken to people in the past about this gamified aspect, but how many people out there truly really want to play a game, usually with bad graphics, just to earn a token? I mean, we saw that happen with Axie Infinity. After their Ronin hack, you saw the community just leave in droves, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they were really only there to earn tokens. So what if we said you can earn tokens by not having to do anything? Just buy, set, and forget. And you can still get your rewards without having to play some crappy game with bad graphics. So we're going to think very carefully about that because games require a lot of investment and time. And if there are better ways that we can use that money that's going to deliver a return for the investors, then we'll probably take that option as opposed to investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in building a game that people are being forced to play just to make some, money on the side. So the N1 token, by just holding it, solves that issue. People can earn rewards. But then if a game is fun or compelling enough, we'll add it. So we like games of chance, games like coin flips and scissors, paper, rock, and, things like that that are just very simple, that don't require you to spend hours and hours and hours in front of your computer or phone playing a game that you don't really want to be playing. But we're not ruling anything out because we try and stay as agile as possible and respond to market demands as it's required.
Yeah, I mean, you just described the exact problem with crypto games is that, people design the sort of tokenomic structure and then just try and sort of shoehorn it into a game that they develop as quickly as possible. And it should be done the other way around, right, from the ground up. And I feel like no one's really sort of come up with a compelling game offering in the crypto space yet. I'm sure it'll come eventually. Perhaps when crypto gets big enough, like people actually be able to collaborate with big games producers. But yeah, as of right now, it's most of the offerings, as you say, people are only playing them purely to generate a token, and then as soon as that goes away, they don't want to play it anymore. Which which says everything, really, doesn't it? So,
Yeah, I think most of the big gaming companies like Activision, Blizzard, and even Microsoft, once they start coming out with their games, I think everyone else is going to be put to bed because they are working on creating blockchain, tokenized games as well, and especially with the metaverse and whatnot coming up. Once those actual game companies start producing the games, I feel like everyone else is going to be silenced.
yes, 100%, absolutely, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how it develops over the next couple of years. But yeah, I mean, there's so much money in the space. Companies like that are bound to want to get involved, aren't they? And I think that it's gonna change the game, no pun intended, quite frankly, when they do get involved. Um, okay, so security is always the most important issue. Day by day, hacks happen with greater frequency and scale. So, what is the solution to ensure the safety of users and their assets in GuilderFi platform?
Well, the main advantage is that the BSC platform, even though it is somewhat quite centralized with only so many nodes operating on their network, it is still one of the most secure networks out there. You don't really hear of many hacks or, bad actors or um, uh, projects getting infiltrated on BSC. So I think that we have that working on our side. But in addition to that, the actual smart contract code itself has been vetted and all internally audited. But we we do believe through many of our due diligence and especially testing that until we actually hit like the you know 500 million plus TVL mark. It's not really going to be on anyone's radar, so to speak. But I mean, that's not an excuse in itself, but I'm just saying that the BSC network in itself is quite secure, and we're quite confident in our code to deliver what it does, and having addressed all the potential exploits that are possible.
So was that your main sort of reason for choosing BSC over, say, I don't know, AVAX or Matic, or I mean, no one uses Ethereum for this sort of stuff because gas fees are just insane. But was that your sort of main consideration using BSC over any of the other platforms available?
Yeah, there were a few considerations made for choosing BSC. It's funny because we initially were supposed to launch on AVAX, and we pivoted pretty much the last minute, having spent so much time with the AVAX community, which is a fantastic community, mind you, because when we were involved with them on Avalanche, it was such a clean, motivated community where you didn't see many rug pulls or bad actors. I think they've started to surface as of recent, but mainly the security, but also the availability of liquidity. That was one of the major reasons. Although AVAX is a top 10 token, still the amount of liquidity that was available on there, we found wasn't going to be enough to support what we needed. And so, yeah, we chose BSC over security mainly, and the liquidity, availability of liquidity. So those two reasons really. Mm.
Cool. Okay, should we go for one more question then, and then start to wrap things up, I think. So what are the competitive advantages that GuilderFi has that discern you from others? Sorry.
Well, number one is the safe exit by far.
Yeah.
Safe exit by allowing people to invest with some peace of mind, knowing that they're going to get back 165% of their actual invested capital. Well, it's an industry first, and it's never really been done before. So that's one of the major selling features. But in addition to that is also the LRF to keep the price stable, not go for the price appreciation, and let people enjoy that APY.
Very cool. All right, that's great. I think we'll just about wrap things up there. But yeah, Knights, as he said, will stick around and answer your questions in the GuilderFi channel. So if you do have any more questions, by all means, post them in there. Once he's done, I'll get him to choose the winner of the 20 N1 tokens. They're still up for grabs. So he'll pick the best question, and we'll announce the winner tomorrow on our Discord. Was there anything else you wanted to add or say before we wrap things up?
Yeah, guys, look, it's a quite a unique experimental protocol that we've built here, and we're ready for the community. We're just waiting to wrap this pre-sale up. So, don't invest anything more than you can afford to lose as the number one rule in investing, but come along for the ride, because there's going to be a lot of events and a lot of giveaways and a lot of things that people can actually do with their N1 token at the end of the day. People who just want to sit back and enjoy the APY and make some passive income, you're welcome to do that as well. But if you want to get actively involved and learn how it works, all it takes is 0.25 BNB, which I believe many people can afford to invest into DeFi projects, especially if they're looking. So come along for the ride, because we're here for the long term. We want to make it past year one. If we make it past year one, we're very, very confident, like 99% confident that we'll get to the end of its life cycle, which is year 10. So get in while you can, because now is the best time. You'll get your free NFT as well, in addition to your tokens that generate the 1.94% return on a daily basis. And rebases are also paid out every 12 minutes. So that should definitely help the positive feedback loop happening.
Very cool.
Otherwise, yeah, thanks for your time, guys, and we'd love to do this again. And I believe we'll be hosting you guys in our community in a couple of weeks' time. So definitely looking forward to that and learning more about your project, because we like to invest in the projects that we're sort of aligned with as well. So we look forward to that opportunity. And yeah, I'll wait probably about half an hour before I start answering any questions, if in case there's anyone that wants to ask any more, and we'll pick a winner at the end of it.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, as I say, the channels stay open. So yeah, we'll set something up with you guys to come over to your server and talk about lava. And I feel like we should get you guys back on. You know, you've got so many things going on in your protocol, and I mean, you're not even haven't even got to public sale yet. So I'm sure you've got a lot of exciting things to come. So perhaps we get you guys back on in a month or two, and we see how you're going. And it'd be great to talk to you again.
Definitely look forward to it. And thanks again, guys. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for coming on. Speak to you soon.
All right. Cheers. Bye for now.
Bye.